All right, joining us now is the founder of Culture of 1776 and the Hannah Faulkner Show. Hannah, welcome to the show.
Hey, Camden, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited.
Thank you for coming on. First, before anything, I just want to ask for the people that don't know you or are wondering, who are you? Just a brief introduction.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm just a 17-year-old patriot, speaking the truth that you'll never hear from the fake news media. But honestly, just speaking common sense like you are, things that we never thought we'd even have to say. I mean, the fact that, yeah, children shouldn't be able to cut off their healthy breasts and genitals, men shouldn't be in women's bathrooms. It's actually mind boggling we even have to talk about these issues and get on a podcast to discuss them. But I'm just traveling the country. I'm the host of the Hannah Faulkner Show, as you said, and then obviously the founder of Culture of 1776. I love doing this, just some private investigative work on the side every now and then when I can, just exposing all this corruption. But that's a little bit about me. It's just, again, it is so crazy. We even have to talk about these issues, but you know what? You just got to keep standing.
Yeah, well, it's super important that you do what you do because a lot of conservatives have had censorship going on. I mean, have you seen the Alex Jones stuff in his show and what they're doing to him?
Yeah, it is absurd. You know, we talk about freedom of speech in our country, and I actually got this email the other day on YouTube. I rarely post on YouTube because they just censor everything, and it was a video. It said COVID-19 was a bioweapon. That was the title. And apparently, within the video, I had a doctor who is a biologist and a scientist, a biologist, and he has some other degree. I can't remember, but regardless, he was talking about men and women and how men cannot become women, all of this stuff, and he's a biologist, so he has the credentials. Well, YouTube said that I was spreading medical misinformation, so they have banned me for a short period of time. So, the freedom of speech is everywhere. The banning of freedom of speech, the infringement upon our freedom of speech it's insane. I have an 11-year-old brother, and he made this video about how our country is lacking masculinity. We have a lack of masculinity in our country. We
That's
have a bunch of
facts.
soy boys
It's true.
running around, and he's 11 years old. This video gets 500,000 views, and they take it down. They delete his entire account 3 times for inappropriate content and hate speech from an
Wow.
11-year-old boy just saying that we have a bunch of soy boys running around and we need strong men to rise up and stand for the truth. It's absurd.
Wow, there's a clear agenda going on. If that's the case, if you can't even talk about men being men anymore, there's an agenda there, clearly. So I want to go into the political scene right now because it's clearly like good versus evil. There's a lot of things that, like you're saying, we have to talk about, and it doesn't even seem like we should, but we need to. But first of all, a lot of Gen Z, our age, hates Trump. There's this weird thing about hating Trump just because of the media and what they say. Have you seen that in any of your community and our age, and what do you think about it?
It's funny. I had this man on my show, this guy on my show, and I don't even want to call him a man because he's a little bit beta boyish, but he comes on my show, and I really respect the fact that he did come on my show because I've invited so many liberals, I've invited so many independents, feminists, regardless, I've invited so many people that oppose what I believe in, and none of them will accept the offer. But this guy came on my show, and we talked about, actually, for an hour and a half, we talked about whether or not children should mutilate their healthy breasts and genitals. But he is a pro-Biden supporter. And in my mind, I mean, you've even got the Democrats being like totally shunning Joe Biden, and all of a sudden now they're realizing that he has dementia
Yeah.
and isn't fit to be president. We know that they're not fooling us. We're not dumb. We're not stupid. The American people know what's happening. They know this is very strategic. But as it pertains to Gen Z just hating Donald Trump, I mean, I think the question that should be asked was your life better under Donald Trump, or is it better now under Joe Biden? I think it's a very simple answer. But not just that. I mean, our debt, $34 trillion in debt.
Insane.
We have thousands upon thousands of illegal aliens coming across our border every single day, many of which are fighting aged men. We have men imposing into women's sports, women's locker rooms, women's spaces. We have men, I mean, we have leaders and political leaders of our country telling us that pedophilia is not a crime, it's an identity
Oh
now.
my gosh.
We have a president that has gotten us into countless wars with other countries, pointless wars with other countries that we would never have gotten into under Donald Trump. But the question is why? Well, because Donald Trump is a man of his word. If you look at when Soleimani threatened the lives of the American people, he was eliminated within 24 hours.
Wow.
Donald Trump didn't give him any threats. There was no red line talk. It was just action, and that I do believe that's what we the people want. But Gen Z, I mean, it starts in the home. It starts with the parents, and so the reason why this generation is saying all of this insane comments about Trump versus Biden or whatever it may be is because there's no parental guidance in the home. I mean, parents are sending their kids off to these state-sponsored schools. They're there to indoctrinate them. I mean, that is their agenda with this cultural Marxist ideology, communism. I mean, the list goes on, but it's insane. I mean, people that are just sitting here hating on Trump, you ask them, why? They have no reasons. And you know that. I'm sure you've gotten into many debates with liberals. They have no idea why they don't like Donald Trump. They have no idea.
It's basically emotions. They think on emotions and they go, right, oh, he's angry, whatever, all these things. But I do see that there's a rise of conservative young men lately that are rising up, and some women too. I want to ask you, have you seen anything with women? You're a young woman. What do you think about your gender and age and going into politics?
Oh man, it's yes, I'm excited to see more and more men stand up because we need that. There definitely has been a lack of masculinity, which is large partly due to the feminist movement. It's completely destroyed male and female roles in society, destroyed the family unit. I mean, in the 80s and 90s, this feminist movement, quote unquote, the women's rights movement had nothing to do with women's rights. Just if you look at the facts. But in the 80s and 90s, they were pushing this idea that there's no difference between men and women. It's just a social construct, right? And I mean, I just saw the statistic a while ago that nearly every single election since women had the right to vote, if women didn't vote, conservatives would win. I mean, you look at the 2020 election, 76% of women voted Democrat, 58% of men voted Republican. Well, why is that? Well, because women tend to think more with their emotions. Yeah. They tend to think more emotionally, which isn't a bad thing. That's a beautiful thing. That's the way that God has designed us as women. But the feminist movement, these globalist parasites have taken control of that. Satan, ultimately, I mean, this is a spiritual war. I'm a Christian. I believe that.
Yeah, me too.
But they've taken control of that, and they've manipulated women. I mean, if you look at the way that Planned Parenthood works, they go into college campuses where they can find the most uneducated and the most vulnerable of society, college students. I mean, typically college students genuinely just have no idea what's happening in our country, and that's why they're there. They're targeting and they're manipulating these young women. I'm excited, though, because I'm seeing women wake up and realize, I don't know if you've seen the videos of women just angry because they're miserable, they're lonely, they're 29 and single, they want to be married, they want to have a family, and the feminist movement is also blamed for that. They have lied to us. And so I'm excited. I have hope because women are fed up, men are fed up, and they're saying enough is enough.
Yeah, we need more women like you because you're taking action and you're showing other women that it's okay to think like a woman, to be a woman, because this feminist movement is kind of reverse of what they want. It's not about women being women at all. It's about power, money, and the agenda they're pushing. So do you get your values from being a Christian? You mentioned that. Does the things you believe, do they come from that?
Well, absolutely. I think your worldview determines a lot. The liberal that I had on my show, I think, a lot of what he believes in is because he doesn't believe there's a God. I mean, he doesn't believe there's a creator over heaven and earth. And so, I think our worldview is a big deal. I mean, people say, I don't have a worldview. I'm not religious. Everybody has a worldview. Whether you like it or not, you have a worldview. But it's what you base your beliefs upon and your foundation, your roots on. And I do believe that's why the family unit is so important. I'm so grateful for my family. I have a strong father, strong mother. I have 3 siblings, and they're all on fire for the Lord. They're passionate, and that's because of my parents. Parents just talking to us about these issues, not being afraid to talk to us about the truth, involving us. I think you were on the Homefront podcast. Yeah. On Patriot TV, and I love to say this because parents are always saying, how can I get my kids involved? And it's like, well, first off, you have to get involved. Because if your kids your teenagers don't see that you care about the truth and you're involved in politics and in the public square, then they will never care about the truth. They will never care about watching the news and paying attention to what's happening in our country. So it starts with you as the parent.
Yeah, the family unit, I can't even explain how important that is. And there's attack on it. There's a direct attack. I think it's a spiritual attack. Something going on bigger than us So with those values you have, you're a Christian, you're a woman, you're a conservative, it seems like. What do you think we can do in our generation as young people to speak up and fight the demonic things going on?
Yeah, well, I think number one, we got to educate ourselves. I mean, Ben Franklin said the best defense against tyranny is an educated society. And so if we, I think so often especially young conservatives are so afraid to get into debates or be outspoken about what they believe in, is because they don't have the armor. They don't have the backing to defend what they believe in. So educate yourself. I mean, do some quick research studies, watch your podcast. I mean, there's so many podcasts. Watch Tucker Carlson. I mean, watch CNN. Get to see what they're saying. Yeah. Understand their tactics. There's a book by Saul Alinsky. It's the why can I not remember the name of the book? But I mean, all these books. George Orwell's 1984. Read these books. I mean, so many kids don't want to read these days, and it's like here's the thing: the people you hang around and the books you read will be half the person you become. So choose wisely. Read. Reading is so important. Something that's been lost in our society. But educate yourself, get involved. I mean, there's so many organizations. I'm part of Young Women for America. It's the largest, or it's the daughter organization of the largest women's public policy organization in Washington, D.C., advocating for the sanctity of marriage, sanctity of life, the defense of Israel. I mean, so many different issues. So get involved. There's Turning Point USA, Leadership Institute, so many different avenues and areas that people can get involved. You have no excuse, no excuse whatsoever. But I do want to say this too, as Christians, I think of this, if we all get to heaven, I kind of imagine ourselves sitting around talking about all the things that we did, when evil was at our doorstep. David, this little man, hitting Goliath in the head with a rock and defeating the Philistines. I mean, you've got Solomon, all of these men that just defeated evil because they stood firm on God's word and on the truth. And then they get to us, Americans, they get to us and they say, oh, what was your story? What did you do when that issue came to your door? And we say, oh, what? I didn't want to be called names. I didn't want to be ostracized from my friend group. I was a little bit afraid. Or, what? I had football every Saturday night. I didn't have time. Or I just didn't really like politics. I don't think that's going to fly. I think that's actually going to be quite embarrassing. And we're just going to give excuse after excuse. So, I mean, this is going to leave an eternal impact, what we do on Earth. And really, I mean, these issues, again, are just common sense. It does not take a rocket scientist to understand these things. But there's a quote. It's one of my favorite quotes from John Adams. Always stand on principle, even if you stand alone. So my biggest advice to our generation would be to just continue standing on principle. Don't back down, and don't be afraid to speak the truth.
Yeah, the Bible even talks about the belt of truth. We have to speak the truth. It's not wrong. Some people are scared what other people are going to think, but as Christians, we're called to fight evil, to speak the truth. So I love it. Where can they find you, Hannah?
Yeah, my website is cultureof1776.com, and then my show, The Hannah Faulkner Show, on Rumble. They can actually find that through my website, cultureof1776.com.
Thank you so much for coming on.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Camden. I appreciate it.